Hey y'all, Patrick with Vetted. Thank you guys so much for joining for another great video. What are we talking about today? My goodness. Okay, there's quite a few things to this. We got John Greenwald Jr. from the Black Vault. We got Jesse Michaels, who interviewed David Grusch, has that latest interview with him. And then we've got David Grusch, right? All in this story. So let's break it down, see what it's all about. Let's jump in. All right, so I saw this thing on Twitter with a Twitter Spaces involving Jesse Michaels and John Greenwald Jr. Not necessarily him in the Twitter space, but them talking about David Grusch's DOPSR application, let's say. There was two of them. So what we're going to do is take a look at an article from the Black Vault to break this down. Then we're going to look at what exactly is DOPSR. And then we're going to take a look at that clip and see what that's about. So bear with me here. All right, so let's start here. What this is all about. Title: Newly released documents shed light on UFO whistleblower David Grusch's DOPSR review. In a recent release of documents obtained via FOIA case, new information has surfaced surrounding the media nickname UFO whistleblower David Grusch. Grusch, who has claimed to have knowledge regarding non-human intelligence, believed by many to refer to extraterrestrial beings, had made headlines with this story. Yet a crucial piece of the puzzle seemed elusive. His Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review submission that he and the media often references. So we'll come back to this. What is DOPSR? Right, so Department of Defense Pre-Publication Security and Policy. So what does that mean? A pre-publication security and policy review is the process by which information proposed for public release is reviewed to ensure compliance with established national and DoD policies and to determine that it contains no classified, controlled unclassified, export controlled, or operational security related information. Once the information is cleared by a DoD component or the Defense Office of Pre-Publication Security Review, release to the public is the responsibility of the originating office or individual. Why are pre-publication reviews necessary? The purpose of the pre-publication security and policy review is to ensure information damaging to the national security and is not inadvertently disclosed. Department of Defense employees and military service members have a lifelong responsibility to submit for pre-publication review any information intended for public disclosure that is or may be based on protected information gained while associated with the department. Note, public disclosure means disclosure to one or more persons who do not have the appropriate access, authorization, security clearance, and need to know to receive protected information. All right, so there's a lot of information here. It's like manuscripts, right? Books. You want to do an interview, brochure, right? All this different stuff, right? I'll put a link to this because there's a lot here, and you can read it all. So let's get back to the article. The Black Vault has extensively highlighted the absence of Grusch's actual approved DOPSR submission. While Grusch remains tight-lipped, a FOIA request filed by the Black Vault has now shed light on a matter from the Department of Defense's end. Although the recent releases still leaves many questions unanswered due to significant redactions, it does provide a more comprehensive picture of how everything went down. From the documents, it's evident that Grusch submitted two DOPSR requests for a review. The first, an interview question submission, was sent on March 7th, 2023. His second, a future interview question submission, was sent less than a month later on April 5th, 2023. Both submissions received approval on April 4th and April 6th, respectively. Strangely, the responses to Grusch's interview questions, the most awaited details, were redacted under exemption B6, shielding them from the public eye. This exemption, as stated in the FOIA response letter, protects information that would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of the personal privacy of individuals. So, The internal, we're about to take a look at this here. The internal correspondence within the DoD also adds a bit to the story. Security review specialist Michelle Wingman expressed concerns regarding vague references made by Grusch about certain sensitive areas. Her apprehension was clear in her message to her colleague, Don Kluzik, where he stated, although he does not divulge specific sensitive information, the author makes reference to sensitive areas. I just wanted you to review, Klutz stated in his response. Vague references to sensitive areas like this are not a problem. If there had been something more substantial, then further review would have been necessary. With the answers being redacted in the DOPSR paperwork that Grusch wrote for approval, it is only a guess on what vague references and locations they are referring to. So right here, you'll see from David Grusch to Michelle Wingman, right? Interview question submission. This is April 5th. This is the second one. Follow-up. Flagged. Good afternoon. Here is a future Q&A for review. This was created on my own personal accord and was not a document that was part of my previous official work as a government civilian. Signed, David Grusch. Second one. Good. From Donald Kluzik to Michelle Wingman. Good morning, Michelle. Vague references to sensitive area like this are not a problem. If there had been something more substantial for further review, would have been necessary. So that's in response to right here. So you've got, well, now you've got their email addresses. Goodness, God, y'all don't start emailing them. Good morning, Don. I reviewed the interview questions for case 1707. Although he does not divulge specific sensitive information, the author makes reference to sensitive areas. I just wanted you to review. So it looks like they're just following up, right? Making sure. Who is Don Kluzik? Right here. Washington Headquarters Services, Executive Services Directorate, Defense Office of Pre-Publication Security Review, and a phone number and all of that. So the release documents beg a more significant question. If the DOD has provided a portion of the material, albeit redacted, why hasn't, this is the crux here, okay? Why hasn't Grusch shown his request in full? Such transparency would only bolster his credibility. But by the email exchange above with DOPSR, it seemed like nothing was of detailed note that caused any concern whatsoever, except for vague references to facilities which were no problem to them. What else was in the request? To date, although Grusch's DOPSR material was referenced in each of his news interviews and at the UAP hearing, it is yet to be released by Grusch despite being fully cleared for open publication by DOPSR. Why he has not released it to date remains a mystery. Past attempts by the Black Vault in June of this year to contact Mr. Grusch's attorney, Charles McCullough, specifically asking about the DOPSR material, have remained unanswered. Note, the Black Vault will be filing an appeal to argue the redactions. So, now, all right, again, I'm going to put a link to all of this so you guys can check it out, all right? And there's another sort of, video about this too. So, again, I'll put a link to this so you can watch this from the Black Vault as well. But now let's get to what happened on Twitter most recently. So, basically, let's see it right here. In a recent X-Space, Jesse Michaels, again, this is from John Greenwald Jr. of the Black Vault. Jesse Michaels, American Alchemy, though it has it backwards here. Again, this is the guy that interviewed David Grusch most recently. He released this mini documentary. It's fantastic. It's a must-watch. I loved it. I'm a fan of all these guys, okay? I don't hate anyone here. I'm just reporting this. Jesse Michaels said I was just wrong about the David Grusch DOPSR issue. He checked in with Grusch anyway, who stated, maybe I did fuck up. Meaning Grusch conceded he may be mistaken. And I give a ton of credit to anyone who entertains that idea about themselves, as I myself am fully open to being wrong on this. But despite that, Michaels just decided I was wrong anyway, yet stated no real explanation on how he came to that conclusion. He went on to echo the same thing about publishing redacted material, but I believe this was mischaracterized from the get-go, as it was not a catch-22 scenario, which brings us full circle to where we started in this conversation. So why was Grusch even asked if Michaels had made up his mind made up, I was just wrong? So why was Grusch even asked if Michaels had made his mind up his mind made up. I was just wrong. Okay. I reached out to Michaels via X and through his email and received no response to either. What is also odd is that despite who was right, wrong on the above, no explanation was given. Was Grusch asked by Michaels on why he hasn't shown his fully cleared DOPSR request submissions? A lot, not everything, can be answered by that simple task. So why not? This reason hopefully will be revealed in a future part 2 video by Michaels that he already plugged in the X space on something like this that Michaels characterized as a really important point. Why wait on giving a solid reason why it's not being released? Here's what Michaels says about it. All right, so now we're going to listen to this. So real quick, before we listen to this, these 2 tweets are kind of interesting. So I demand full transparency from the government, but I'm also going to keep this government document under wraps because it kind of makes me look bad and hurts the case I'm trying to make. Grusch with a straight face. Okay, so clearly Grusch didn't say that, but he's implying that he did. I think that's, and then John responds, I think that's kind of the root of my concern here, or at least one of them. Why is it being withheld? There is no reason to. The entire point of a DOPSR review specific to this is to get a product reviewed for publication and dissemination to the public. It's just odd. So again, I think the issue is why hasn't David Grusch just released his DOPSR, right? Both of them, I guess, full without being redacted or any of that. What is he trying to hide? I think people are thinking he's trying to hide something. Not saying that's what's happening, just reporting on this again. So again, let's watch this from Jesse Michaels. Again, it's a Twitter X space, so the video does not necessarily reflect what he's saying. All right, here we go.
People were talking about the DOPSR.
Oh yeah, like the Greenwald kind of thing around. Yeah, I think on the DOPSR front, I think Greenwald's just wrong. And actually, I've followed up with Dave about this because I always want to poke and like make sure things are legit and we're putting out the right information. And my understanding is that you'd have a total, you can't basically block and conceal yourself, because ultimately he'd get this redacted version where he'd like have the agency that did the redaction, then he could go out and publish that. And so that my understanding is that what he said is actually right. And to his credit, he followed up immediately when I sort of pushed back and was like, I think this could be this is a really important point. And, was like, maybe I did fuck up, but then I don't think he did. I think he's actually right is where he shook out. But I should have a more specific and better answer there. And I do think
that was good. And it's good to hear that you asked him right away and he got back. With him, I don't sense this, sketchiness that maybe some other people in the community have. And it would be cool maybe if you put out an official thing like that or just something in response to that. But yeah, it's glad to hear that he was responsive. And yeah, I see the DOPSR stuff being talked about a lot from the.
I think I'm going to do a part 2 actually, and I think I'm going to address it specifically in the part 2 because I really I don't want like any lingering doubts about his intentions or any sort of deviousness or like I want to. And by the way, I also want anything that we said in the doc falsified if it can be falsified. That would be great. I think anything that gets us close to the truth is good. And so
people would talk DOPSR.
All right, so what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? I hope this maybe clears up some things. Again, the key is why hasn't David Grusch just released it to the public? It was granted clearance. He's allowed to release it to the public. Release it, right? Both of them. I don't know. Where do y'all stand on this? Should he not? Does he have a good reason? I think it's worth finding out. And I think Jesse Michaels is saying that too. And he's saying, well, in this part 2 that's going to come out, who knows when, that'll be further explained. I'm curious about that. Don't forget, Yes Theory, who also worked with Jesse Michaels, has their own documentary about David Grusch coming out. So apparently there's more interviews and more about David Grusch to come out. So again, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Excited to hear what everyone has to say. If you like the video, hit the like button. It definitely helps us out a lot. And again, leave a comment. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, y'all. We're trying to get to 500 by the end of the week. And I have a new interview dropping today with Mick West an hour after this one pops. So 1 p.m. Central, that will drop. Round 2 with Mick West. It's an interesting interview, not one you're probably expecting. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and being a fan of Vetted. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m., noon, Central. All right, guys, remember, every day's a gift. Have a great Friday.